Hello, friends. It's the Cinemondo podcast.
Yay!
Again.
I'm so glad we're here.
Yes, I am too.
You know what we should talk about? We never talk about, and people never talk about superhero movies.
Yeah, kind of underappreciated the niche.
I can't wait till Marvel starts cranking them out. We can actually start seeing some movies and TV shows because it's just such a wasteland out there.
They don't make enough of them.
I'm excited when one comes out I've actually heard of. I'm always really happy about that.
Well, the Fantastic Four is very close to my heart. They're my favorites, I guess, growing up. They were the ones that I collected. Thinking back on when I was but a wee child, I remember the very first comic book that I ever got was the Fantastic Four comic book. And you want to see it?
Yeah.
I do.
Wow.
Oh, that's an old one. What number is that? Like 46?
That's probably worth $1 million.
It's number 44.
44.
Oh my God, that's
yeah.
But I got some classics I should show off, right? Look at that one.
That's epic.
Silver Surfer.
Look at that one.
Whoa.
There's like the covers on these things. You know, Jack Kirby was the guy that did these covers and did the stories. And Jack Kirby, I think, doesn't get enough credit. Stan Lee wrote them.
Stan Lee, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, Stan Lee.
Everybody's hogging all the credit.
Is that one name or two? Who knows? Yeah.
Check that out, the Avengers.
Oh, there's that rubber guy. Marvel got people who are going to hate me.
See, look at that. That is
that's gorgeous.
That's Galactus right there. And that's, you see, well, I'll show you.
Galactus is bad news.
This is another Galactus cover, which is really radical, like red and yellow and black. Super cool.
Very cool.
But look at the shape of Galactus's head here with his little antlers or whatever they are.
Very cool.
And that's sort of like tin can on his head kind of thing. But just check out Jack Kirby. You know, look at the way the characters look, the way the Thing looks here. That's
got a certain look. That to me is quintessential Marvel. Quintessential stuff. It's the stuff that I grew up with too. So
and the Thing.
I know.
Wow.
And there's been so many Fantastic Four films, there was like a kind of a cheesy, I think a Roger Corman one maybe, or and then
Constantine films, notoriously never released because it wasn't really made to be released. There's a long story behind that.
Very long story.
Yeah. And then there was some in the early 2000s that didn't quite work, like they were kind of not part of the Marvel canon that we know of today. But now with Matt Shakman directing, and he's done other Marvel stuff, and he's sort of like in that group, and Marvel's putting a lot of money behind one of the greatest, comic books in the history of Marvel. Now we're getting something very special with a great cast. This cast is amazing.
Yeah. But you know what? You have to, like what you're just saying there is so important, is you have to really get the property. You know what I mean? It's like, I think the people that made the Fantastic Four movies previously kind of are like, I don't care too much about comic books. It's about a bunch of people that, run around and solve, fight bad guys and villains. And, they're just not into the mythology and the legendary status of these characters. These characters are like modern myth, they're like they're the same. We tell stories about superheroes. It's the same thing as the ancient people telling stories about gods.
Yeah. Greek gods and all that sort of that version. But check out this cast. Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic. Joseph Quinn from of course Last Quiet Place and Stranger Things is the Human Torch.
Oh my God, Stranger Things. Eddie. I'm hoping Eddie comes back. Sorry, I'm rocking all over it because Joseph Quinn. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and Natasha Lyonne, Julia Garner, Moss-Bachrach plays the Thing, which is a really cool
from the Bear.
Not the big hulking, actor like a Dave Bautista is playing him. It's somebody else, so
right.
Which is interesting. Yeah. So great cast, and I'm excited to see this. Is it a teaser, Kathy, or this is a full
teaser? Official teaser.
Okay. Well, without further ado, shall we take a look?
You said without further ado.
I know, sorry. that's my thing.
Very fancy way of saying let's fucking do this.
I'm
ding. That's like okay. That's one of the podcasters tropes. Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, quiet.
Welcome to the Baxter Building.
We make a point to do family dinner every week. Sunday at 7 on the dot, no matter what. We're all here.
It's so good.
Even that's retro.
Oh, I like how it's coming out. Like
Herbie, how's that sauce coming? Yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
There he is in the kitchen.
Okay. Okay.
Like
is this guy good or what? I want to add a couple cloves of garlic. Not because it's not delicious. I just want to add a little bit of zip. Okay?
Wow, the design is incredible.
Before we went up the first time, you couldn't turn invisible. Ben wasn't a rock. The best pilot in the world right here.
Yeah. Best looking, he means.
And Johnny never caught fire.
Ben has always been a rock. Johnny is Johnny. And I am right here. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together.
Oh, I love the masks. They're cars. There's his head.
As a family.
Holy shit. Amazing.
All right. Looks like fun to me.
Wow, that looked gorgeous. I like they're staying very true to the kind of retro vibe of the original comics. Like it's not modernized. Like they kept it like that old school kind of sci-fi, which I loved. All the curved like shapes, everything's curved, nothing's too squared off. Ah, God.
Well, they first appeared. They were the first comic book in what they call the modern era of Marvel comics. They appeared in 1961. And
it looks like 61-ish.
Yeah,
it does. The car is definitely from that time period. It sort of has that jet set, that sort of retro future vibe.
Yeah.
And
the colors are great.
Yeah.
And the idea that she's bringing up the idea of the family, that was always a part of the stories too. In the original story, I mean, it's still true that Johnny and Sue are brother and sister, and that Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm are married, and that Ben is their good friend. And there's the whole Marvel idea of them being real people. Johnny's kind of he's really he's like a teenager. He's into hot rods and rock and roll and stuff, and 1961 version of it. And
right.
And Ben is he's a bit of a hothead, which tracks, when you think about people that the Incredibles kind of messed with that, like a person who has superpowers kind of based on their personality.
Yeah.
And Ben was kind of the tough guy. He was always a bit rough. He was a little rough around the edges, and so he becomes a giant walking pile of rocks. And sadly, the metaphor of a woman who becomes invisible is interesting when you think about it in terms of the way women were seen in 1961 as far as being a part of a heroic group.
Yeah.
She could turn invisible.
As all women do.
Especially in 1961,
They still are. But
true.
I wonder, so does the fact that Galactus is appearing in this, we saw him briefly, does that tell you something about where we are in the comics? Like,
that was one of the earliest that was when there's like this Galactus sequence in the early Marvel comics where Galactus appears, and it's almost like that was like the birth of the gigantic Jack Kirby. Before that, I go back a little bit and have this giant Fantastic Four that has Galactus on the cover there.
Oh, that's
but
great.
in the early days of this is like the ancient text here, the tome.
We brought our comic nerd here to Cinemondo.
Yeah. In the early days, Jack Kirby drew kind of, standard comic book style. And you can kind of see that there's nothing like gigantic about it.
Yeah.
But then you go into the Galactus stories. I mean, of course, I'm going to see if I can find it. And that's when he started experimenting with these sort of, I just turned to this page randomly, but it's like he became gigantic, I think is the best word for it. Everything was like oversized, and there were these huge splash pages. And so the Galactus story was about outer space. It's about a guy who comes from another planet that eats planets.
Whoa.
And he sends a herald ahead, like a scout, like an employee that he goes out. He says, go out and find me planets that I can consume. And that is the Silver Surfer. And
so he's a bag.
Which is my very favorite characters in all of Marvel.
So cool looking.
Yeah, I love the Silver Surfer.
We didn't see Silver Surfer in this.
No.
Okay.
But maybe we didn't see Mr. Fantastic stretch out either. So they're sort of keeping some stuff back, which is
it is a teaser. But we saw lots of. I like that we saw a lot of family. I saw a lot of emotion and heart in this, which was great. Pedro Pascal just so good, A+. I think I love the whole vibe of it. I loved how they started square and then it kind of opened up like movie theaters start.
Yeah.
And then it kind of starts getting in. We're bigger now. I was like, that was pretty great.
Like an old movie, the old format of films, and then it widens out into widescreen.
Right.
Right.
Well, I saw John Malkovich briefly in there, which is cool.
Yeah.
And also the voice of Galactus is this actor Ralph Ineson, who I think has one of the best voices today. I'm so psyched. He was in Nosferatu. He played the doctor in that, if you remember the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that great, dark, deep, British voice. Just beautiful. So I'm excited for this. I really am.
So Galactus is from England. That's what I kind of thought.
I think he's from the Midlands, like Birmingham. You saw the Beatles in '63,
Yeah, it sounds smarter when you speak.
Yeah.
I think. Well, that looked fantastic. Fantastic, didn't it?
It did. When's the release on this? We just like July, right? It didn't really give a date. So it's a summer experience.
It's got to be a big summer movie. There's no way it's not.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's called First Steps, which obviously means there's going to be more exciting
July
things.
25th.
July 25th.
Well, the one thing I'll say about the Fantastic Four is that we always wondered, people, you saw the Avengers go through that whole thing. The Avengers were pretty incredible. That was a whole. Some of those characters are classic, of course, bigger, larger than life.
Yep.
And when they brought in, I remember that they started off, with Iron Man and Captain America, which were kind of based in human on Earth type things. You could imagine you could extrapolate forward and imagine technology like Iron Man and, genetic technology like Captain America. But then Thor shows up from another planet, and that's when it became galactic, But then the Fantastic Four, I think they're sort of a galactic group of superheroes. But I'm going to say something that I've always thought was funny. It works in the comic books, but it's always been so hard to make those four characters, to bring them into reality, because their superpowers are so not cinematic. If that sounds right. I mean, the Thing is really cinematic. He looks really cool and stomping around, super powered, like the Hulk, but made out of rocks. But Mr. Fantastic's superpower is sort of ridiculous in a way. He's like, he can stretch his arms and he can turn himself into a big balloon sometimes.
It can come in handy, though, if you can't reach something.
I know.
See,
it'd be nice to have around.
He doesn't have to have one of those grabbers that you get when you're older.
Right.
Yeah, but Johnny, his is pretty cool. He catches on fire and flies. That's pretty cool.
But it's hard to do that in film. I mean, in the old days, you couldn't do that unless you were doing it with animation or something. And I mean, they're obviously using computer generated animation to do the you mean that wasn't the Human Torch and the Silver Surfer and all that. But before CGI was really good, there was just no way to do the Silver Surfer unless you painted an actor silver or something.
Yeah, and a little suit on, like a little tights,
like a tight bodysuit or something. Like it would look like those aliens on Lost in Space or something.
That's really good. Oh my god!
But now overall, they can do it.
How do we feel about this movie? Excited?
I think it looks really like Marvel. Any missteps they've had in the past, this looks like this is sort of
looks fresh.
Coming back into their lane they need to get into and starting a whole new series. Yeah, so I'm excited. July 25th. Fantastic.
And all the timeline stuff, you can
waiting for a longer trailer. Yes.
Oh, we'll get one for sure.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.